Hey guys, it's Steven here with Beyond Clean. In this video, we're going to give you a step-by-step demonstration on the processes that we do to ceramic coating your vehicle. This is going to be a time-lapse video, so it's going to condense in a 10 to 12 hour process. If you have any questions, feel free to ask and we'll gladly take care of it. Let's go. The first part of the process is a foam cannon wash. We eliminate the necessity to use a 2-bucket method because of using the foam to take the place of the soapy water. So as you'll see in the video, we're going to quickly go over the whole vehicle with the foam cannon, allow the soap to soak, and then go over it again with our washing mitt. During this stage, it's vital that I don't add or cause any sort of scratches, swirl marks, or micro marring. As you can see here, what I'm doing is overlapping each pass that I'm doing and applying no pressure. There is no pressure being put onto this microfiber pad that I'm using to wash the vehicle with. I'm simply pointing or going to a certain direction, directing the area of where the microfiber is going. Again, not applying any sort of pressure. Okay, so now that we've got the wash stage done, we're now simply going to get all the soap off of the vehicle, all the soapy water, and then continue on to the clay bar. FYI, during a lot of that, the video was sped up 20 times the speed that it traditionally is. What we have here now is the quick detailer and clay bar. So what we're going to do is make sure that we lather any of the panel or panels that we're working on, which here I believe I'm doing the entire right side. So we're going to make sure that quick detailer is on. A quick detailer leaves no protection behind. The sole job of a quick detailer is to provide lubrication, so when we do the clay bar, otherwise the clay bar is not even going to move over the paint. So as you see now, we're going over the vehicle with a clay bar. I'm using a fine grit clay bar since it's a new vehicle versus using a more coarse clay bar if it is a vehicle, even if it was newer, that just had really rough paint. So we're going to go over the entire vehicle, and after that we'll explain the next step, which is the iron decon. So what we're doing now is the iron decon. So although a clay bar does get rid of iron particles, the iron decon is just another layer to make sure that you have all the impurities off of the paint in preparation for the paint correction stage and coincidingly the ceramic coating stage. So we're going to put this on the entire vehicle. After we do the iron decon and allow it to penetrate the vehicle for about 5 minutes, we then go around and pressure wash the vehicle. An iron decon is simply another step above a clay bar that is a paint decontamination. Because when this gets to the next step, when we do the paint correction, the vehicle needs to be as clear of any type of debris as possible. So iron decon simply makes it where that you know that there is no impurities on the vehicle and it's ready to go for the paint correction stage. right, so we're done with those steps. Time to bring it in and continue the process. What we're doing now is we're using a surface prep. So the surface prep is Isopropyl 91% mixed with distilled water. What this does is after you do the iron decon, it leaves the paint really sticky. Doesn't matter, yes, we wash it off. No matter what, the paint's going to be very sticky. This isn't necessary before the paint correction, but I prefer to go ahead and do the surface prep just to make it a smoother, less sticky surface for when I'm doing the paint correction. So I'm going to go over the entire vehicle with this and then just gently buff it off with a microfiber towel. Next up, we are going to tape off all of the trim pieces with blue painter's tape. The reason why we use blue painter's tape is it doesn't leave any sort of residue behind. And the reason why we're taping off the trim pieces is because once we start doing the paint correction, if the polisher or in the compound, whatever combination you're using, hits your trim pieces, it will discolor it. And it's not a permanent thing, it's something that we can rectify, but it's just another step that we prefer not to have to worry about. So all of your trim pieces get taped off. So I'm going to do this entire bed, all around this fenders, the whole nine, and then we'll do a video going around showing you what it looks like. As you can see, we have everything taped off and she's ready to go. Up next is going to be the paint correction stage, where in my opinion is the most important stage of the entire process as far as how the vehicle comes out and looks. So the most important part of doing a ceramic coating, in my opinion, is the paint correction. All the processes are important, whether it's the wash, the iron decon, the clay bar, there's taping up the trim pieces, the IPA solution wipe. Everything is important, and so you don't ever skip a process. There is no process that you can leave out. You do the same process as every vehicle to eliminate any type of mistakes that you may cause. But the paint correction, in my opinion, is the most important. Now you have three different levels of paint correction. You have a polish, then you have a compound polish, and then you have a wet sand compound and polish. Each one of those steps are more aggressive than the other one. So a polish is the least aggressive, compound polish is more aggressive, and so forth. Whenever you do any type of paint correction to a vehicle, just know that you're taking off clear coat. The process of eliminating a scratch, marring, swirl marks in your paint is to knock off clear coat in order to level it with the rest of the vehicle so that you no longer see that scratch or swirl mark. So rule of thumb, if you can feel it with your fingernail, you're not getting it out. There's nothing we could do. If you have really bad paint, you go all the way to a wet sand. So what I always tell my clients, depending on the level we read, because we check the depth of every panel prior to you leaving, is to how much clear coat do you want in the vehicle, what are you comfortable with, etc. So what I'm doing here, this is a brand new truck. Truck barely has any miles on it, literally, is I'm doing a polish in the entire vehicle. What polish am I going with? I'm going with Minzerna 3800, which doesn't do much correction. It's more so to bring out that pop, that wow factor in the paint. Now, what I'm going to do is there are three parts on this truck that has deeper scratches. However that happened, I don't know. But my goal is to first compound those areas and then hit it up with a polish. So as you can see, these are relatively deep scratches. They may come out because I can't feel them. Same thing. Hopefully the phone is focusing on. These are the only three deep scratches that I saw in the entire vehicle, which is good. Makes my job a little bit easier. All right, so I'm using a Meguiar's wool pad on here. First, what I'm gonna do is make 4 small dots. Rule of thumb, little product goes a long way. You then want to place, first touch the vehicle to spread it, and you never really want to go past 4. I go 4.5, It goes all the way up to 6,000 RPMs, but I typically like to stay at 4.5. This is a progressive trigger, so whether you're using a polisher that doesn't have it or not, meaning that if I just barely press it, it's just going to go. If I'm full throttle like that, that's giving me the full 4,500. So in a situation like this, that I know that combination works, I can go ahead and wipe it off, and that scratch is gone. Now, I don't advise you to just go straight to a compound unless you're pretty good and know what you're doing, because you can burn through the clear coat, but for a lot of experience. So went ahead and did the compound on the wool pad, got that scratch out. We're gonna do these last two. I'm actually gonna speed this up now. All right, so the scratch is completely gone. Also a good thing, because I didn't have to do multiple passes or use that much product, and with the specific pad, there's no hazing. What does no hazing mean? No hazing is great because that allows me now to go straight into the polishing stage without having to do that in-between stage, that in-between polish, I should say, that we spoke about earlier. So I'm using a wool pad. A wool pad is normally a cut pad. There's different, there's different levels of pads. You have wool pads, you have foam pads, then you have different velocities or different thickness, different levels of correction, right? Different types of pads, and I can make another video about that. But I'm using a wool pad, which is traditionally for cutting, which is normally paint correction. But with the 3800, it's going to do very little cut. Let me see if I can show you this. You see that the gloss is maxed out, and then the cut's only 2 dashes, meaning it does very little cutting. This has no silicone, it has no fillers. This is a true correction. So with that being said, what that allows me to do is, even though I'm not getting much cut, and I know that I'm gonna get a lot of gloss because I'm using a 3800, which is a very fine polish, any type of micro marring that I may have missed and didn't catch, this is gonna get out. So when you're doing a polish like this is mostly a jeweler. This is mostly to bring out the depth of paint, to bring out that pop. So when I put the ceramic coating on, the client is like, wow, this looks great. So you don't have to really do too many passes. Traditionally, I'll go side to side twice, side, I'll show you side twice, up, down twice, and that's for the most part it, because of the vehicle. Now, this vehicle paint is amazing. You're gonna have to do a lot more passes and have different levels of what you're trying to do. But this is just really quickly to show my potential clients and folks out there what the processes are. Alright, so with that, I am going to do paint correction on the entire vehicle. I wish I could record, but this is going to take me 4 to 5 hours to do. So anyways, I'm going to take a break, then get back to the entire paint correction on the vehicle and show you guys the next stage in the process. Alright, so we just did the paint correction. It is now 4:21, so it took me a little bit over 4.5 hours, which isn't bad. Anyway, let's go ahead and take all this blue tape off. You always want to make sure that you use blue tape because it doesn't leave any type of residue, so don't use regular tape. Make sure it's blue tape. The next process is going to be another IPA Wipe, which was that spray bottle we used after I moved it in. So what we're doing here is similar to what we did after we first brought the vehicle in and we did the iron decon outside. This is a surface prep. So 91% isopropyl mixed with distilled water. I advise you, if you're going to try this yourself, 50-50, if you're using at least a half gallon. So anyway, so what we're doing is we're going to do the entire vehicle again with the surface prep because we just finished doing the paint correction. So what this does is it takes off all of the oils left behind by the polish on the vehicle. Otherwise, if you just do the paint correction and then try to do a ceramic coating immediately after that, the coating is not going to bond to the paint correctly, and you'll be lucky if you get a couple months out of it. Doesn't matter what coating you use. So this just gets all the oils off of the vehicle. So then when it's time for us to put the ceramic coating down, she's going to be perfect. Okay, so we're a little bit past 9 hours in. We're doing really good on time. So we'll finish this in right around 10 hours, which is where we want to be at. So what we're applying is System X Max. This is a 10-year coating. So we're going to go ahead and do the application. Then I'm going to let it sit. Then I'm going to show you guys what it looks like when it cures, and as far as the buffing off process. And then I'm going to do the rest of the vehicle not on camera. But I at least want to show you guys, I'm going to do the front driver's door and show you guys how to do application. With whatever coating you're using, I don't care if it was just delivered, always just shake it up a little bit. Just a good way to go about it. There's also many different types of application pads. I like using a microfiber. Why? Because it's large, so I can get my hand around without fatigue. When you use those small applicator pads, sometimes you get fatigue, especially on the larger vehicles. So you just want to go ahead and liberally apply. Again, once you get to the process, to the point I should say, where you're applying the coating, the job is for the most part done. It's everything that goes up to it. And I'm actually going to do 2 layers of this coating. So it's going to be the same as just doing 1 layer. So I'm just going to show you one. A good way to practice, if you're someone who wants to do it yourself, or if you're another detailing company or potential company that's going to learn, is you want to do a crosshatch, meaning that you want to go like this and then up and down. Once you get to the point where you know how to get the coating on level, and I mean I've coated over 2,000 cars, so it's pretty natural to me. I don't really have to do any of that. When I first started, my first couple dozen cars, I did a cross patch method instead of what you see now, which I'm pretty much just going over the area with one straight line. Just because I've done a lot and I know how System X coating works. The thing with System X also is you can apply this to the trim pieces. Make sure you do research on your company. Some coatings cannot also be applied to these plastic pieces like that, but System X can. And how I do it with the trim pieces like these blacks, and you'll see, well, I'm gonna do this off of camera, but when I'm doing the tailgate area, is you don't wipe the coating off of these trim pieces. You allow it to actually cure directly on it. So the coating is completely on it. The good thing about me doing 2 layers is it's impossible that I'm going to miss anything. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on fast view. We're going to let this cure. So after we just applied the ceramic coating, it's time to wait a couple minutes, and then we're going to go ahead and do the leveling stage or the buffing stage of removing excess ceramic coating off of the vehicle. Otherwise, you're going to get high spots, which is another problem entirely. show you something, see if you guys can see it. This is called a flashing. Now, different coatings flash different ways. That's why it's important to make sure that you go to someone who knows what they're doing. Now, this coating sweats more than it flashes. Okay, so flashing is kind of like a rainbow effect. That's when you know it's time to level the coating. As you just saw briefly how it looks kind of crazy right now, right? I'm not sure, probably can't pick it up, I'm on the wide lens. But if you leave it like this, you will never get it out unless you do paint correction again. So you level the coating, which is basically taking off excess levels of it, so that it doesn't look crazy like this, in short. So remember I said I leave it on the trim pieces, I do not wipe off, but because this is chrome, you don't want to leave it on here. When you leave it on here, it leaves something called a high spot, which is just the area where the coating is on higher than others. So our goal is to have a uniform appearance on the vehicle where you're not going to see any of that sweating effect. This will take you a lot of practice if you're doing it yourself. And if you're a client, you have nothing to worry about because I have a lot of experience. So traditionally, the way I do it, the coating goes on an entire side of the vehicle. Like I would have done this entire side in one go, and then I would level the entire thing. Now it's important to know, another little tidbit, is that coatings flash at different temperatures and different humidities. So our shop here is climate controlled, so it's never too humid, it's never too hot. So I know the coating, takes give or take 5 minutes. So I would say between 5 and 7 minutes to flash, and I know I'm able to wipe it off. Otherwise, like I said earlier, if not done correctly, you're gonna have to do a paint correction again to get the coating off, because the coating does not come off unless you put that polish into it. It doesn't matter what you put on, you can throw acid on it, it won't go off. All right, so that's it. The coating is level. Coating is flawless. All right, so remember, the coating cures. I'll show you guys this. This is a regular microfiber. See, in the wind. Once you apply the coating, it becomes hard. This becomes hard. So that's what happens in the coating stage. Once the ceramic coating is applied to your vehicle, it has to sit for 12 hours. During the time it hardens. So right now, mostly what you're seeing is that polish that makes that red pop. But tomorrow morning, when I come back for the client to pick it up, the red is going to be deeper, the color is going to be richer, it's going to look better than this. All right, let me get to work and I'll do a little quick video when I'm done. We are thrilled with how she came out. She came out amazing. Red and black are one of those two colors where when done correctly, they look leagues and bounds better than any other color, and this one right here was no exception. We did 10-year System X Max coating on the entire exterior. We actually put System X Max on his wheels, and we also put it on his front windshield. So yes, we do apply whichever coating option you choose. We also apply it on your windshield if you want to add that service, because in our experience, the actual coatings perform better than the glass coatings made for that. So that's what we do. Again, she came out great. This is exactly after installation and buffing, about an hour and a half later. So during the curing stage, when we come back in the morning, it's definitely going to look a little deeper and richer than this. But yeah, very happy with it. We do the same process with every vehicle. And if you have any questions, let us know.